Michael Jackson was performing Billie Jean at Madison Square Garden when he stopped mid-song, stunned by what he was hearing. Someone in the crowd was singing counter-melodies so beautifully that it sounded like a studio arrangement, but it was just Sarah Martinez from Queens. It was September 7th, 1987 at Madison Square Garden in New York City. Michael Jackson was performing the second night of his Bad World Tour's New York run, and the atmosphere in the arena was absolutely electric. The 20,000 fans packed into every seat were witnessing what many would later describe as the most emotionally charged concert performance they had ever experienced. But what nobody in that iconic venue expected was that the evening's most magical moment wouldn't come from the king of pop himself. It would emerge from the extraordinary meeting of international stardom and undiscovered brilliance that occurred when true artistry recognized true artistry in the most unlikely circumstances. Sarah Elena Martinez was a 20-year-old vocal composition student from Astoria, Queens, sitting in section 420, row 15, seat 22, practically in the rafters of Madison Square Garden. She had scraped together every dollar from her weekend job at Sam Goody to afford even these upper-level tickets, because witnessing Michael Jackson perform live had been her obsession since she was 12 years old. Sarah had been writing vocal arrangements since she was 8 years old, but she had never performed for anyone beyond her family and church congregation. She was exceptionally introverted, studying music therapy at Manhattan School of Music with aspirations of working with children in hospitals, where she could use her musical gifts to heal without needing to be in the spotlight herself. But Sarah possessed something remarkable that even her music professors had only begun to appreciate: an supernatural ability to hear melodic spaces within existing songs and create spontaneous vocal parts that seemed to transform the entire musical landscape. When she experienced music, she didn't simply hear the primary melody. She perceived intricate webs of harmonic potential, infinite ways that additional voices could interlock to create something far more powerful than any individual performance could achieve. Sarah had been studying Michael Jackson's vocal techniques for nearly a decade, not merely as an admirer, but as a serious student of his phrasing, his rhythmic choices, and the complex layered vocals he constructed in his studio recordings. She had analyzed every track from Thriller and Off the Wall, memorizing not just Michael's lead vocals, but every background harmony, every ad-lib, every breath that contributed to his sonic signature. What made Sarah's musical ear truly exceptional was her childhood experience with her grandmother, Elena Martinez, a former opera singer who had performed at Lincoln Center in the 1950s before retiring to raise her family. Elena had recognized Sarah's gift when she was just 5 years old, hearing her granddaughter unconsciously harmonizing with the radio while playing with her toys. "Mija," Elena had said that day, "you hear music the way angels hear it, not just what is, but what could be." Under her grandmother's careful guidance, Sarah had learned to understand music as a living, breathing conversation between melodies. Elena would play classical pieces on her old upright piano, while Sarah learned to weave her voice between the notes, finding spaces where her vocals could dance with the existing harmonies without disrupting their beauty. This wasn't formal training in the traditional sense. It was something much more profound. It was learning to listen to music's soul. By the time Sarah was 12, she could hear a song once and immediately identify not just the key and chord progressions, but the emotional spaces where additional voices could live. Her grandmother called it musical empathy, the ability to feel what a song needed to become complete. Elena had passed away when Sarah was 16, but not before making Sarah promise to never hide her gift, even if sharing it felt frightening. "Music that stays locked inside doesn't heal anyone, Mija," Elena had whispered during her final hospital stay. "Promise me you'll find the courage to let your voice touch the world." Sarah had made that promise, though she had struggled to keep it. The death of her grandmother had left her even more withdrawn, and she'd spent the last 4 years of high school barely singing even in her church choir. When Michael Jackson launched into the opening synthesizer riff of Billie Jean, Sarah experienced something completely unprecedented at a live performance. Despite sitting hundreds of feet from the stage, despite being surrounded by 20,000 screaming devotees, she could perceive Michael's voice with crystalline clarity. Beyond that, she could sense the harmonic landscape surrounding his vocal, the musical territory where complementary voices could nestle without interfering with his legendary performance. Without conscious decision, without preparation, without any understanding of what she was doing, Sarah Martinez began weaving counter-melodies around Billie Jean. This wasn't typical audience sing-along behavior. Sarah was constructing sophisticated vocal counterpoint, discovering melodic lines that enhanced Michael's vocal delivery in ways that amplified rather than competed with his artistry. Her voice, though she remained unaware, was projecting remarkably through the arena's acoustics. The convergence of her natural vocal power, the venue's architectural design, and the precise tuning of her improvisations was generating something truly extraordinary. Michael Jackson was deep into the second verse of Billie Jean, completely immersed in his performance when something impossible began happening. He started detecting something that defied explanation. Flawless melodic accompaniment to his vocals that wasn't originating from his professional backing singers. Initially, Michael suspected some sort of technical malfunction. Maybe his in-ear monitors were malfunctioning, or perhaps there was interference from another audio source. But as he continued performing, he recognized that the harmonies he was hearing were completely live, spontaneous, and remarkably sophisticated. Michael began scanning the audience, attempting to pinpoint the origin of this mysterious voice. The counter-melodies were so precise, so musically intelligent, so perfectly synchronized with his vocal phrasing that they had to be coming from someone with extensive training and exceptional natural ability. Systematically, Michael began tracing the sound with his gaze, examining different sections of Madison Square Garden until he started narrowing down the approximate area where the voice was emanating from. That's when he made a decision that had never occurred before in his professional concert career. Michael Jackson ceased singing in the middle of Billie Jean and signaled for his band to stop playing. Madison Square Garden fell into bewildered silence as Michael approached the front of the stage carrying his microphone. The silence wasn't just surprising, it was unprecedented. Michael's band members, his longtime guitarist Jennifer Batten, and keyboardist Greg Gaines exchanged confused glances. They had performed with Michael through countless shows, but nothing in their experience had prepared them for this moment. The crew backstage scrambled to understand what was happening, while sound engineers quickly adjusted their settings to ensure Michael's voice would carry clearly through the arena. In the VIP section, music industry executives who had seen thousands of concerts sat stunned. Berry Gordy Jr., founder of Motown Records and Michael's longtime mentor, was in attendance that night as a guest. Later, he would describe this moment as the most spontaneous thing he had ever witnessed Michael do on stage. Michael was always meticulous about his performances, Gordy would recall years later. Every move, every breath was rehearsed to perfection. For him to stop mid-song like that, it meant something extraordinary was happening. The lighting technicians, following their training, kept the spotlights focused on Michael, even as he deviated completely from the planned show structure. The cameramen documenting the concert for a potential future release continued rolling, not knowing they were capturing what would become one of the most legendary moments in live music history. "Ladies and gentlemen," Michael announced, his voice echoing through the suddenly quiet arena, "there's somebody out there with an absolutely incredible voice, and I need to find you." The venue buzzed with anticipation and confusion. Nobody comprehended what was unfolding, but everyone could sense that something unprecedented was about to happen. "I was just performing Billie Jean, and someone in the audience was creating melodies that were so beautiful, so perfect that I have to meet you," Michael continued. "Whoever you are, wherever you're sitting, please stand up and sing a few lines so I can locate you." Sarah Martinez, positioned in her upper-level seats, felt her world stop. There was absolutely no possibility that Michael Jackson was referring to her. There were 20,000 people in Madison Square Garden, including professional musicians, industry executives, and trained performers. Certainly, he couldn't be addressing a shy music student from Queens. "Come on," Michael encouraged the crowd. "Don't be bashful. Let me hear that beautiful voice again." Sarah's roommates sitting beside her, Christina Park and Jessica Williams from her Manhattan school program, began urging her to stand up. "Sarah, it's you," Christina whispered frantically. "You were singing harmonies. We could hear you, and obviously so could Michael Jackson." "I can't," Sarah whispered back, paralyzed with terror. "There's no way he could hear me from up here." But Michael persisted. "I know you're out there," he said into his microphone. "You have a gift that deserves to be shared. Please sing just a few lines of Billie Jean so I can find you." The arena fell completely silent. 20,000 people waiting to see who would respond to Michael Jackson's invitation. Finally, encouraged by her friends and summoning courage she never knew she possessed, Sarah Martinez stood up in section 420 and began singing, "Billie Jean is not my lover." Sarah's voice, clear and pure and perfectly tuned, carried through Madison Square Garden like it was engineered for that exact acoustic environment. The counter-melody she created was so stunning, so unexpected, that the entire arena fell into amazed silence. Michael Jackson, standing on the stage hundreds of feet below, broke into the widest smile anyone had ever witnessed him display during a performance. "There you are," he said into his microphone. "Ladies and gentlemen, do you hear that? That's one of the most beautiful voices I've ever encountered." The arena exploded in applause, but Michael raised his hand for quiet. "What's your name?" he called out, though he couldn't possibly hear Sarah's response from that distance. Fortunately, Madison Square Garden's advanced sound system included audience microphones designed to capture crowd reactions. The sound technicians, recognizing what was happening, quickly activated the microphone nearest to Sarah's section. "Sarah Martinez," she replied, her voice now amplified throughout the venue. "Sarah Martinez," Michael repeated. "Would you like to come down here and finish this song with me?" What happened next consumed nearly 15 minutes and became one of the most remarkable scenes in concert history. Sarah Martinez, escorted by venue security and cheered by 20,000 fans, made her journey from the upper reaches of Madison Square Garden to the stage where Michael Jackson was waiting. The audience didn't mind the interruption. They were witnessing something unprecedented, something that could never be planned or rehearsed. They began chanting, "Sarah! Sarah!" as she navigated through the arena corridors. When Sarah finally reached the stage, she was trembling with nerves but radiating with excitement. Michael took her hand and guided her to center stage. "Ladies and gentlemen," Michael announced, "please welcome Sarah Martinez, who just demonstrated that extraordinary talent can be discovered anywhere." What followed was the most beautiful impromptu duet in performance history. Michael and Sarah performed Billie Jean together, with Sarah providing counter-melodies that seemed to elevate Michael's already phenomenal vocal performance to even more transcendent heights. But the magic extended beyond the musical collaboration. Michael, sensing Sarah's anxiety, guided her through the performance with gentle support, helping her feel comfortable and confident on stage. "Just trust your instincts," he whispered to her during an instrumental section. "You belong here." As Sarah relaxed into the performance, her natural musical intelligence took control. She began incorporating vocal improvisations and counter-melodies that complemented Michael's style flawlessly, creating a musical dialogue that sounded like it had been rehearsed for years. The 20,000 fans at Madison Square Garden were experiencing something they understood they would never witness again: the spontaneous creation of musical magic between a global icon and a complete unknown. In 1987, there was no internet, no social media, no mechanism for moments to become viral in the way we understand today. But what happened next demonstrated that extraordinary moments have always discovered ways to circulate around the world. Dozens of fans in the audience were documenting the concert with video cameras and recording equipment. The moment Michael invited Sarah on stage, those devices captured something that would be shared, duplicated, and distributed for decades. Within days, bootleg recordings of Sarah and Michael's duet were spreading through Michael Jackson fan networks worldwide. Music industry professionals began seeking copies of the recording, amazed by the natural chemistry between the two voices. Radio stations started playing audio segments from the duet, describing it as one of the most beautiful live vocal performances they had ever broadcast. After the concert, Michael invited Sarah and her friends backstage. He spent more than an hour discussing Sarah's musical background, her studies, and her aspirations for the future. "Sarah," Michael said as the evening concluded, "you have a gift that the world deserves to hear. Have you ever considered a professional music career?" "I've dreamed about it," Sarah admitted, "but I'm too introverted for performing, and I don't have the industry connections or financial resources to break into the music business." Michael smiled. "What if I told you that introversion can be overcome and that connections and financial resources are obstacles I can help you navigate?" During the next hour, Michael presented an offer that would transform Sarah's life. He wanted to feature her as a vocalist on his upcoming album, and he was prepared to provide her with vocal coaching, performance training, and industry guidance to help her develop a professional career. Sarah Martinez's life changed overnight. She spent the following year working with Michael's vocal instructors and performance coaches, developing her stage presence while preserving the natural, authentic sound that had captured Michael's attention. In 1988, Sarah was featured on 2 tracks of Michael's Bad album, Special Edition, including a breathtaking duet version of Billie Jean that became one of the album's most cherished songs. But Sarah's success extended beyond her collaboration with Michael. Her appearance at Madison Square Garden had been witnessed by numerous music industry professionals, and she began receiving offers for recording contracts, session work, and songwriting partnerships. By 1991, Sarah had released her debut album, which achieved gold status largely based on her reputation as the girl who sang with Michael Jackson at Madison Square Garden. Michael Jackson and Sarah Martinez maintained a close professional and personal friendship throughout Michael's career. Sarah provided backing vocals for several of his subsequent albums and tours, but more significantly, they developed a musical partnership founded on mutual respect and shared dedication to vocal artistry. "Michael taught me that talent means nothing without the courage to share it," Sarah said in a 2009 interview following Michael's death. "That night at Madison Square Garden, he gave me the confidence to believe in myself as a performer." Sarah was one of the featured performers at Michael Jackson's memorial service, where she sang Billie Jean as a tribute to the man who had discovered her voice and changed her destiny. Today, there's a commemorative plaque at Madison Square Garden honoring the night when Michael Jackson proved that remarkable talent can be found anywhere. The plaque reads, "In memory of the magic that happens when artists listen to their audiences. September 7, 1987. Every major artist who performs at Madison Square Garden learns the story of Michael and Sarah, and many have incorporated moments of audience interaction into their own shows, hoping to create similar magical connections." The story of Michael Jackson and Sarah Martinez reminds us that extraordinary talent exists everywhere, often hidden in the most unexpected places. It requires someone with the wisdom and confidence to listen, really listen, to recognize and nurture that talent when they encounter it. Michael could have simply acknowledged Sarah's beautiful singing and continued with his show. Instead, he chose to stop everything, find her among 20,000 people, and create an opportunity that would change her life forever. In doing so, he demonstrated that true artistry isn't just about individual performance. It's about recognizing artistic potential in others and having the generosity to share your platform with them. Sarah Martinez went on to have a successful recording career, but she never forgot the lesson Michael taught her that night: that music is most beautiful when it brings people together rather than setting them apart. She established the Hidden Voices Foundation in 2003, which provides scholarships and performance opportunities for talented young singers who lack the resources to pursue professional music careers. "Michael Jackson found me among 20,000 people," Sarah says to the young singers she mentors. "That means there's no crowd too large, no dream too hidden, no voice too quiet to be discovered. You just have to be brave enough to sing." The duet that became legendary before the internet existed proved that some moments are so powerful, so beautiful, so genuinely moving that they don't need technology to spread around the world. They spread through the hearts of everyone who witnesses them. Sometimes the most important discoveries happen when we stop performing and start listening, and sometimes, if we're very fortunate, we find voices that make our own music more beautiful than we ever imagined it could be. If this incredible story of discovering hidden talent moved you, make sure to subscribe and hit that thumbs up button. Share this video with someone who has a hidden talent that deserves to be recognized. Have you ever witnessed someone get discovered in an unexpected moment? Let us know in the comments. And don't forget to ring that notification bell for more amazing true stories about the moments when ordinary people become extraordinary through the power of music.